segment of the program. Well, politics is in the air, and we are looking towards a very important presidential primaries on Monday. That's the APC own. We've had that of, we have two, let's deceive ourselves, I think we have two major political parties. Atiku is waiting for his opponent. He's like a boxer ready in a ring and waiting for who is going to fight him. Atiku is ready. What they are looking towards now is just the issue of running mate. We know PDP has nominated Atiku, so to say, to be the presidential flag bearer, and we know that it's an unsettled situation now. Nobody knows what's going to happen as far as the APC is concerned. So the topic today is presidential primaries and party politics. We have two guests that should be here. One is on his way. When he comes in, we'll introduce him. But we have one with us who is a public analyst. It's not his first time on the program. Bolaji Adeniji. Bolaji Adeniji, you're welcome to the program.
Good morning.
And thanks so much. I think I called you up so late. And of course...
when duty calls to attend to matters of our nation, we all must rise up.
The guests we were supposed to have actually had issues with rain around Okiata. Of course, it couldn't, So today, we set.
All right. Primaries everywhere. And one thing that I observed is that people that are, the Electoral Act is now being put to practice.
Yes.
And one of the things that has handcuffed so many people is if you lose in the primaries, you can't go to any other party to claim the primary. Now, how does it affect, how do you think this has affected politicians and the candidacy of some people?
Well, like I used to say, that the framers of the Constitution and every other law that guides democracy in every nation, in this instance our own electoral law, those people who are the vanguard of those documents must constantly seek how it evolves in terms of making the process more inclusive, number one. Number two, also in terms of how you codify the process and limit the penchant, the proclivity of politicians to exploit that process for their own selfish intention, thereby compromising the integrity of the democratic process. Okay? For instance, a clear example would be when politicians get to public office on the platform of a particular party, whereas the law recognizes that votes are for parties, not for individuals, as it were. And then you get to public office on the platform of a party, the goodwill of that party, the effort of its people, and after a while you say something has happened, then you decamp. You take all that goodwill, all that right of the party, you take it somewhere else. And so it is similar to now say, if you have contested primaries on the platform of a party, you have subjected yourself to that process. Whichever way it goes, abide by it, stay by it. Don't run away and jump to another place and begin to. It doesn't portray our democracy as being matured, as being clean, as being egalitarian. It still shows that we are just a people who are always looking for the shortest route to personal success. So I think it is a good evolution that we are trying to nip in the bud all these excesses of politicians on how we manipulate the process and compromise and subvert the process for our personal.
Let us look at the process that brought the emergence of Atiku. As it were, let us look at the process that is likely to bring the emergence of the presidential candidate of the APC, looking at all that is surrounding it now, and of course, the call by the president that please give me the right to choose my successor. I mean, all this, I don't know. What do you make of it?
Fairly long issues all put together. We are talking about the primaries of the PDP, the issues around the impending primaries.
When I talk about the primaries of the PDP, we saw the power of dollars, the power of money.
Okay, let me go straight to it. You see, it's unfortunate that There's a proverb in Yoruba, I don't know how to say it in English, but I also don't want to say it in Yoruba that when you are trying to cut the hand, you should be putting more ring. So what this is that as we are trying to, like I said earlier, clean up the process, okay, make it more egalitarian, politicians always look for a way to compromise it for their own advantage. What we saw happen in the PDP, because a lot of people have saluted the primaries of the PDP from the point of view of that finesse that we saw, that organization, that outward organization of, okay, they were actually voting. People came out, aspirants came out, there was no telling somebody to step down, there was no imposition, the votes counted, it was all over the national TV, and somebody was declared the winner. Ordinarily, that is supposedly a free, fair, good process. But then, but some of us are more concerned about the undercurrents of that elaborate charade we saw. It was an organized, in the world of crime, it was organized crime. You won't see people committing crime because it is organized, it's structured. What we saw was a situation whereby delegates became the Abinga of the good fortunes. So it was now, like Dolly Monodu was saying on air 2 days ago, he said, I did not get a vote because why? I did not buy. So what I did not buy, I cannot get. That is the sad testimony of what we saw. What I did not buy, I didn't offer anything, so I got nothing. So those who offered the most got the most. And you need to ask yourself, because you see, the leadership recruitment process, how your democracy evolves and how good your governance becomes, it's also a function of how you recruit good leaders who emerge through the general will of the people, who emerge on the principles of merit, but not some structural inducement. There was somebody who finished being a delegate and then suddenly there were millions in his pocket. $10,000, $15,000, another person $15,000. So if one delegate got 15, 10, and 10, at $600 today, you could imagine what was in the hands of delegates. And whoever imagined that from that process truly may be a product of a fair election, but no, it's a product of a compromised and bought system. That was exactly what we saw in the PDP primaries.
Yeah, let's come to APC, and I want you to look at it vis-a-vis the president addressing the governors, and of course making it clear that they should allow him to. And of course, people are saying, well, it's not going to be the first time. The governors still have had it. Reciprocity.
Well, that is one.
Yeah, we have could name it reciprocity now.
Yes, reciprocity. Well, that is probably the most contentious matter in the polity today, as far as the impending primaries of the APC is concerned. Before now, Mr. President has said, like a wily old fox general that he is, who will parry their intention and strategy and use a decoy to make it look as though, and stand aloof, like as if they may not be interested. Meanwhile, they are perfecting the strategy that they want to use to achieve their own aim. It's one of the elements of the art of war, whereby you make that decoy. Just as early as 3 weeks ago, he was still saying that the party should go and do the right thing. But everybody has the right to go and to fair contest and all that. Just 5 days ago now, he said, please allow me to choose my successor, as it were. That jolted some people in the party, because they weren't expecting Mr. President to have indicated interest to nominate his preferred candidate of the party.
Probably because before they all got formed, politicians, yes, they must have discussed with him and must have said, okay, you are free.
Yes.
I want to discuss with this president or the governors, because they are pointing fingers at the governors. You had it that way in your various states.
Now, I'm going to come to that. You see, when Mr. President now indicated that interest, that look, give me that prerogative of choice to indicate that this is the man I want. People went to town. The other elements within the party who may, in court, may not be favored by a Buhari nomination, okay, began to raise red herring that no, why this? You are supposed to be a Democrat. But a lot of people did not understand what brought that statement. That statement is a combination of series of activities, which I will say now. You see, before now, just like you alluded, the governors had free reign in their states. Nobody dictates to governors how they make successors emerge. There were certain negotiations and understanding that had happened before that statement. When the primaries was coming up, before the primaries started, there were meetings, alignment between the presidency, who people like to call the cabal, and then the governors. The governors asked for certain concessions.
And they got it.
4, number 1, they asked that their primaries should come first. It has never happened in the history of party primaries that you just go and pick the gubernatorial primaries and make it first. It's usually from bottom up. You have the House of Assembly, the House of Representatives, Senate, and then Governor, and then. But by the time the timetable came out, they picked the gubernatorial election primaries first. That means settle laws. And just like Buhari said in his letter, you first-time governors, you have the ticket to get your second term. Second-term governors, you have the liberty to anoint and install your preferred successor as the candidate of the party.
Did they not even go beyond that? I mean, all other senators, House of Reps, House of Assembly.
What them to do that is the third concession. The third concession was now that the delegate forms, the forms for delegates, okay, to vote in all primaries of the party, was handed directly to the governors.
To the governors.
So that means go and do whatever you wish in your state. And that gave the governors the wide latitude to influence largely
the primaries.
The primaries of House of Assembly,
House of Reps, and the Senate.
So therefore, whoever was not in good terms or is forming some form of opposition to the governors in their states, lost out completely. That's what the third major concession to the governors.
But the question is,
now,
is it democratic?
I'm coming back to the democratic part of it. All that was done willy-nilly in reciprocating, that they will reciprocate the desire of Mr. President
at the
right time. We are giving you all that you want, and you have had it all. So why would you not concede to Mr. President that choice, the choice that you also lavishly exercise in your state?
Leveraged on,
even before the concession were granted officially, it was the usual practice. Which governor doesn't do it? So who would now say Mr. President cannot have that liberty, even though it may, we'll go back to the democratic part, how good it is or how deleterious it is to the system. So that was exactly what happened within the party. And Mr. President has now come out to say, okay, I'm exercising this choice. Governors, you don't have the choice. And do you know the funny thing is that they also snookered the other tendencies in the party, the presidency, because statutory delegates are not going to be voting. That is the former this, former that, president this, president that. So the totality of the delegates who are going to be voting are the elected delegates, 3 per local government, which are now in exclusive hands of governors. So we have given you your concession. So what is in your hands, you deliver it to achieve the wish of Mr. President. That is the reality of what is on ground today. And whoever is not in that boat will cry foul, like one of the major aspirants is now appearing to be crying foul.
Okay, now let's look at this. How is this going to affect? Is it, first of all, is it constitutional in the APC constitution, so to speak, to have such a process? And let me speak on the part of those crying foul. They are saying, okay, it's good to have somebody that you have in mind to succeed in. But instead of coming out to say you are choosing Why don't you manipulate the
delegates through the back door? Yeah.
Yes. Instead of just
that is possible.
Saying, this is who I'm choosing.
That is possible.
You can manipulate through the delegates and achieve your purpose, like they do in others.
In law, there's what you call the principles of laws of interpretation. Okay, there's the mischief, there's the golden, there's the literal and all that. So you can give a lot of interpretation to Mr. President. Yes, I agree. Some people have said that you don't need to pronounce it. You are a master of the art. Work the process, do it quietly, and just make your preferred aspirant to emerge as the candidate of the party. But then you also must recognize the nature of every individual. You know, like somebody said that style is idiosyncratic. The way I want to do something to achieve it may be different from how you're going to do it. It's a general. It's a war veteran. Okay? They don't mince words at the crunch time. It's the nature of people of that hue. Okay? Like I said earlier, they plan their strategies, they mapped it out. They mapped it to the extent that they were able to exclude all the statutory delegates, whom all the aspirants had been visiting. Nobody has consulted the people who are going to vote now, because we only got to know of them a few days back when they did delegates election to make delegates emerge. But before then, what we had was consultation of all these other levels of delegates, which were now outputted out. So suddenly we have these new people on board. And so that game was on. So at the right time, having felt that all the arsenal is in my hand, I'll now come out in my hue, in who I am, by now saying, this is what I want. So that was the style.
Okay, we're still looking at this very interesting topic, presidential primaries and party politics, especially ahead of the APC primaries that is coming up on Monday. We'll take this break. We'll be back. Okay, welcome back. We're still looking at the topic, presidential primaries and party politics. We have our second guest just joined us. I want to thank him very much. He came in all the way from the Redeem camp this morning, and that is talking about the special advisor to the governor on media and public communication, Honorable Remi Azan. Honorable Remi Azan, you're welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
He's not here because he's the special advisor of the governor, media and public communication, but because of the topic and because of his role during the last APC primaries, where he worked as a returning officer from the House of Assembly, House of Representatives, and senatorial primaries of the APC. And since we are going to be looking at the issue of delegates and conduct, so to say, as we continue to talk about this topic, is very much relevant in the discussion. Once again, you're welcome.
Thanks once again for having me, and good morning to the good people of Ogun State and our listeners out there.
Yeah, Honorable Remias, and you met us where we were talking about delegates going to Abuja on Monday, and for the APC National Convention. And I want to ask, these delegates, we saw what happened in during the PDP convention. Now, these delegates going there, hope it will not just be the same of the same. What harvest of dollars that we saw are we going to see again?
Oh, you saw harvest of dollars.
We saw it everywhere.
Well, I don't know about that in the context of seeing it. But everybody just had it from rumor mills that money was shared. But in collegiate elections like this, it is not out of place for horse trading to take place. The statutory name for it is called lobbying. And in trying to lobby delegates, especially in elections that is taking place outside of their primary places of residence, you see such, what I call fringe benefits being offered, like I'll pay your transport, I'll find a way to accommodate you there and be responsible for your logistics. These are my program. Can you just vote for me? Those are within the ambit of what is allowable, or to what extent is what is allowed. I think it is the law that can speak to that. To a large extent, the anti-graft agencies were on ground at the convention ground of the PDP. And I am not aware of any arrest made of anyone sharing money, whether in local or foreign currencies. Like I said, it's in the rumor mills. But all the same, I say once again that it is not out of place for aspirants to try to lobby delegates and possibly be responsible for the logistics of their movement to the places of election, especially in those states where the party concerned is not even in power. You will have to wonder who takes charge of the logistics of those delegates that are to move to Abuja in terms of transportation, in terms of accommodation, in terms of feeding and local transportation and all of that. So lobbying is allowed in a democratic process. To what extent is allowed, the law will speak to that.
All right, let's look at the presidential. We know that the PDP have concluded theirs, and we know the antecedents as we speak surrounding that of the APC. Somebody, it's not about somebody. It's on public domain. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was in Ogun State yesterday, and of course, the genesis of his speech everywhere he goes that it is my turn. I deserve it. I must reap the benefit of my hard work. Now, and if you look at the body language of the president too, who is saying that allow me, since I've allowed you people at some point, to also have my own candidate and you support me. What do you make of this, and how explosive could this be as we continue to march towards Monday, the date for the presidential primaries in Abuja?
Now, narrative building for aspirant will be different from narrative building for a stakeholder like the president. Each aspirant will look at the locality and the peculiarity of the delegate he is addressing and shape his narrative to suit their expectation. And whatever Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has said to categories of delegates that he has met in all the states that he has visited thus far, that is what he is convinced will sell. And to that extent, he will take responsibility for whatever shape his own narrative follows. Now, the president who is soliciting, because that's the word he used, who is soliciting the cooperation of the governor to allow him pick his successor. He is also responsible for that narrative because he knows that the audience he was speaking to at that time has a role to play in the process, and he is now trying to seek their cooperation in a manner that he feels they won't feel offended. At the end of the day, there will be a meeting point. And all of this, by Tuesday night, is done and dusted.
Yeah, Tony?
All right. But my own perspective to it is this. Now that we have delegates to choose who the candidates will be, first, two questions in one. Would you not disenfranchise those who do not have the money to lobby? Number one. Number two, will it not be better if going forward we adjust the Electoral Act to accommodate maybe independent candidates that would want to participate in elections outside of the parties?
Money is a factor, but it's not a decider. I needed to take that in bold print. Money is a factor, but it's not a decider, because sometimes you might have money and misdirect the funds. But knowing how to, direct the spending of your fund too will determine the result it brings in the whole process. So money is a factor, but is not the sole decider. So the issue of anybody feeling disenfranchised because he doesn't have money, I see it more as a product of trying to play the blame game if you haven't done your homework. Because if you know that this process is going to involve spending a lot of money, you should have put your house in order before coming on board. Not that you should have all the money in the whole world, but knowing how to raise the sufficient, the optimal amount of money that can at least drive the process to the point where you will be able to say, so far, not bad. What's the second level of your question, sir?
Independent candidacy.
Well, I think that proposal did not sail through in the last constitutional amendment proposals made by the National Assembly. Why? I don't know. But I think Nigeria is overripe for that now, because some bit of challenges that we have now is there are people with some kind of ideology that doesn't sit well with the party that they are forced to be in, because sometimes you might have a good idea. The vehicle, which is the party you want to use, may not buy into those ideologies. And that's why you see that some governors emerge and drift away from their party manifesto, because they only pretended to be, compliant at the point of seeking office. And once they are in office, they run their own personal ideology, different from what the party believes in. So instead of having that kind of conflicting ideological stand, I think we are more than matured to have independent candidacies enshrined in our constitution. That way, you will even see political parties sitting up.
Because I know your stand, Bolaji, and I know I'm going to ask you one question, but before then, let me quickly ask Honorable Remias, what is the difference between APC and PDP when it comes to zoning?
Zoning, for now, I think it is not in our own party constitution. Consensus building is what looks more like it, because progressives are consensus builders, naturally. And that's why you see that at the early stage, you hardly see any categorical statement being made about zoning. But when the process is about to hit a fever pitch, you see some bit of discussions taking place and decisions taken therein. And you go to the field to reflect that decision. So there is no zoning in the constitution of the APC as of this moment. It may be there tomorrow, who knows. However, the PDP has it in its constitution. And that's why you see that you had a lot of back and forth build up to the decision to now say they were throwing it open towards the last presidential primaries. But in all, even where it is enshrined in the constitution of any party, you still see some semblance of that consensus building. Because at the end of the day, what is zoning? Practically speaking, it is about choosing one out of many qualified people that have thrown their hearts into the ring. That is what zoning is all about. And when a party says they zone, they have someone in mind. Even though it may not be expressly communicated. Once you hear it's been zoned, somebody is behind that they have in mind, and the arrow will ultimately point at that fellow. Yeah. That's behind the scene anyway, but in black and white, you're not going to see that.
Okay, Bolaji, I think, if I'm right, I saw some of your write-up, and you don't mind a consensus if the president is going to make one. But I think, okay, let me say what many people are saying, that the president could make a consensus, but it must come to the South, because that has been the agreement, that has been the arrangement. What do you say to this?
Well, the framers of that idea to do the North-South rotation did it with the mindset that, look, let's create a balance in a delicate system that is not yet steeped in principles of meritocracy that let the best man emerge from any part of the country. And because of the inherent and fragile unity that we still have, despite all of our years since independence, it's still fragile. If you look at the current security situation in the country, okay, currently, then you understand that we are still fragile. And so politically, that system was adopted by the PDP, and wittingly, some other parties too looked at it as a fair principle to let it rotate between the South and the North as at this time. And I am part of those people who believe that we must still maintain that, so that we have that egalitarian society that does not make a part of it feudal and make some other people subjected to them. And if you don't want to play to the gallery, if you want to be real about our existential realities in this country today, we see the propensity, okay, of the Fulani hegemony, okay, to be so entrenched in the Nigerian state to the extent that they see power almost as a birthright. And if we are not careful in taking deliberate steps in making it understood that Nigeria is a plural society with many socio-cultural interests, and they all must at a point, okay, have a feel of the ultimate power in Nigeria, then we are going to be in that situation whereby there's a lot of demand. And so I subscribe to us still having that South-North sharing of the presidency in Nigeria. And so to that extent, the North has just had it for 8 years now. By the end of May next year, it will be 8 years. And so we do not see any reason whatsoever whereby the North again will still have the reins of power going forward for probably another 4 or 8 years. No, it must revert to the South. Where part of the South is another conversation entirely, but it must come to the South of Nigeria so that we still maintain that peace and balance that has still kept us together as a nation despite the fault lines and schisms in the system.
Okay, but let me take you from there. Let's assume that after Monday, by Tuesday,
yes,
APC, the candidate that emerges from there is from the North. What will be your thoughts, your reaction to that?
Well, it's a mix of certain issues. Well, I'm not in the mind of Mr. President, who is pushing for a candidate to be so nominated by him, and we also don't have the powers to interrogate the minds of the delegates who will make that choice at the end of the day, to the extent that it may be a Northerner. We are not so sure yet. But if we want to now look at it as politicians who have our ears on ground, our eyes around, and looking at the competing issues as at this morning, it may be tough for the APC APC to go in the direction of the North. There are a lot of people who have been saying a few things since Atiku emerged. The Atiku is from the Northeast, is popular, he has some reservoir of votes, and for whoever is going to defeat him must probably be from the North and also be of some strong and vaunted political pedigree. And I think those people are meeting up the issues that deals with you being strong enough politically to emerge in your party, and mixing up with the issues that deal with electoral viability. What are the masses saying? What is the current desire of the masses? Who are they looking at? What kind of leader are they looking at for 2023, taking the experience that we have currently? So the APC must be thinking in the direction of not just trying to field somebody to defeat Atiku. I've been contesting that mindset in the last couple of days. You're not going to be pushing up a candidate just to see who is that candidate that can defeat Atiku. No, you must be looking at who is that candidate that the APC must bring forward now that will appeal to Nigerians. To the extent that, look, we are sorry for whatever issues that we have had in the last 8 years, that we have not been able to move Nigeria forward so much in terms of our economy, and of course the big cut, that is the insecurity. We are sorry for all of that, but this guy can do the job. He's positioned to be a transformational leader that will take it from where Buhari has brought it to and take us to the next level. That candidate, that mass appeal, the electorate appeal, is what the APC must be looking at, not the man that can defeat Atiku. Atiku is not undefeatable. And if that be the case, we must be looking at this side of the divide for such a candidate. And I think we have that candidate that can defeat Atiku, and at the same time have that electoral mass appeal. They have tested themselves, they have been on the field. The presidency must be having their security report as of today, and I'm sure that Mr. President's choice, which is another conversation entirely, the propriety of it must be influenced first off by who has that integrity, who do I believe in, can take the job from here, and two, who is that candidate, that man, that can appeal to the masses for victory for the APC.
Honorable Razan, it's your party also. Producing a presidential candidate amidst this challenging time Nigeria has under APC. Ethnic line, religious line, insecurity, blah, blah, blah. How tough? And going by what he said, you want to retain power and you want to convince Nigerians that, yes, it doesn't really matter what Buhari has achieved. This is a man that should be able to take us better. How challenging could this be for the ruling party?
It's quite challenging, especially because the intervention of Mr. President is coming a little late. My personal opinion. If what Mr. President did a few days ago were to have been done a few months ago, some of the pretenders on the field will probably have been able to give themselves some personal advice on not even throwing their hat into the ring. However, where we are, tough as it is, tough problems are meant to be solved. And leadership is a problem-solving platform. And anyone who is privileged to lead must be a problem solver. If you can't solve problems, you have no business being there. So I still believe that Mr. President will be able to bring up that A game, that intervention that will douse the tension. After his pronouncement a few days ago, I'm sure some bit of calm has hit some camps because they are now beginning to look for who is that person that this man is saying he has interest in. And feelers definitely will be flying around, and some people will have known who are the preferred in the circumstance, which will reduce the likelihood of them going all out still. The few ones that are still in the fray are the ones that needs to be managed. And it is the management of each category of aspirant and their peculiarity that is really the tough thing there. There is no fire that can't be quenched. Even polluted water can still quench fire. It doesn't matter the level of pollution it has gone through. That means that water being able to quench fire, recognizing that the problem is fire, every solution attempt must carry with it the content of water. So I believe those who are the eggheads, both in the administration of the party and in the governance of the country, are putting their heads together, knowing full well that we're a country still struggling to become a nation. We're not yet a nation because of this ethnocentric diversity that we are, which makes me to subscribe to his submission that the thing that will appeal to most of us in the South is for power to return to the South. And in the word of Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, rotate to retain power. Because if you fail to rotate, there is already mutual suspicion among ethnic nationalities, even when things were okay. Now, if you now hit the polity up a lot more by coming up with a northern candidate, you create more problems for yourself to solve. You will still be able to solve it, but you will have heightened the level of mutual suspicion among ethnic nationalities. However, it's going to be a process that is bound by both party constitution and legal provision. If someone emerges from that process and is a northerner and the process is transparent, we are party men. We don't have a choice. We only have to reshape our narrative to sell that candidate to our people. Off we go.
All right, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful time with you guys talking about this important topic, presidential primaries and party politics. And of course, we are also looking towards the primaries, presidential primaries of APC coming up on Monday. But Bolaji, you're passing short as we go.
Well, I'm not under any illusion that if I understand how political parties work in the form and shape that we have it as at today in Nigeria, that the wish of Mr. President will most likely sail through. I can only hope and pray that that wish, that nomination satisfies all that we have said earlier. A man who's accepted, who is acceptable and all that. I just wish that happens.
Azan, as you make your passing shots, I just want to take it from here. Cool, the recent happenings in the last few days as we begin to march towards the primary also reshape the thoughts of Mr. President.
24 hours is a very long time in politics. 24 hours is a very, very long time in politics. We hope for the best. We also prepare for the worst.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Remi Azan, Special Advisor to the Governor of Media and Public Communications, for finding time to come to this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And Bolaji Adeniji, once again, I want to thank you because I woke you up this morning that she must be on this show, and you're obliged. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Pleasure.
We take this break. We'll be back.
A polio vaccinator working in Lagos. The challenge